Welcome to the Wind Up with Will, everyone. I'm your host, Will, here with another video. And today we're going to be talking about Super Wild Card Weekend in the NFL as well as the NFL playoffs as a whole. I hope to get through all my predictions in this video for the playoffs. Um, Hopefully, I can keep the video short enough where I can upload today before the playoffs start. We will see if that ends up happening. My internet sometimes doesn't like to upload very fast. I'm going to try and hold the microphone this time so you can maybe hear me a little better. Um, but without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. The last week of the NFL season, the playoffs start today. Um, the last week of the last week of the regular season, there were several teams still in the running to try and make the playoffs. And I want to apologize for not doing more NFL videos throughout the year. Just didn't have the time and it didn't work out right. But I would like to cover the NFL more in future videos. I love the NFL. It's one of my favorite sports leagues. I think it's very well done and it's very fun to watch. And it's the most popular sport here in America. So it makes more sense to make more videos about the NFL. And I love the NFL. So I feel like I've let y'all down a little bit by not covering it more, but going into the last week of the regular season, there were several teams that still were alive in the playoff hunt. In the AFC, going into the last week of the season, you had the Bengals, Broncos, and Dolphins all still alive, trying to get that last wild card. Now, if you were to say that going into the season, a lot of people would have looked at you a little weird because a lot of people had the Dolphins in the playoffs, a lot of people had the Bengals in the playoffs, myself included. Um, and the Broncos were just kind of a surprise that they had this good of a season. I think a lot of people thought that they would be better than they were last year, but myself included, I did not think that they were going to be anywhere near the playoffs. Well, I shouldn't say anywhere near. I would have thought at best they maybe win 7 or 8 games and are competitive, but they don't make the playoffs. They're still a few years away. But they've had a terrific season. And so going into the last week of the season, for the Bengals to make the playoffs, they needed to win and they needed the Broncos to lose. For the Broncos to make the playoffs, all they needed to do was win because they would have one more win than the Bengals. And for the Dolphins to make the playoffs, they needed to win and the Broncos to lose. They would have held a tiebreaker over the Bengals. The Bengals needed the most to go their way with the Dolphins and the Broncos both losing. And it almost worked out. The Bengals won last week of the season against the Steelers, and it was 19-17 on Saturday. But the Broncos won their game over the Chiefs last game of the year 38-0. The Chiefs had locked up the 1 seed and just basically rested a bunch of their starters. Patrick Mahomes didn't play. So the Broncos could just run up the score if they wanted and win. And people were making jokes about it, saying that the Chiefs didn't want to play the Bengals in the future. I mean, that might be true, but I think it's just more that they wanted to rest their starters, that they didn't really. There was really no reason to try very hard in that game. They locked up the 1 seed. They finished 2 wins ahead of Buffalo. There was really no reason. And even if Buffalo had won their game, they'd still been a game up. There was no reason for them to try in that game. So, unless Carson Wentz, who was the backup for the Chiefs, just balled out, it looked like the Broncos were going to get in. And then the Dolphins lost their game the last week of the season to the Jets, 32-20. Tua didn't start; he's been injured, so just kind of unfortunate for those two teams that had playoff hopes. And the Bengals, I give them props for having a terrific run to just get to this point, because for most of the year they were bad. They had, I think, like 6 30-point games. Actually, we can go look at it real quick here. They had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 30-point games during the season, and they only won one, two, three, four of them. So they went 4-4 in games in which they scored 30 plus points. And that's not ideal for a team. Their offense was terrific, but their defense just struggled at times. Joe Burrow, if the Bengals had made the playoffs, would be my front runner for MVP. And going into the season, he was my preseason pick to win MVP. I thought he'd have a terrific season coming back. They were going to have an easier schedule. Their offense is going to be great. I thought it aligned well for him, and it did. But they just found ways to lose games. Their defense wasn't very good at times, and it ended up costing them by one game. They missed the playoffs. Over on the NFC side, going into the last week of the season, the two teams that were still alive in the playoff hunt were the Falcons and the Buccaneers. The Falcons held the tiebreaker over the Bucs, winning both games head-to-head. So going into the last week of the season, they needed to win. The Falcons needed to win, and the Buccaneers needed to lose. That did not happen. The Falcons lost 44-38 in overtime to the Panthers, who were a late surge late in the year. They actually started playing a lot better, even though they still finished 5-12. And the Buccaneers won their game against the Saints 27-19. The Buccaneers end up with the 3 seed. Terrific season for them. I said that they would win the division, and Baker Mayfield played really well. As I said, I think I said in the preseason video for the NFL that Baker Mayfield is a terrific NFL quarterback. I think any team should want him. I would love if the Titans had him or if the Cowboys had him. I think he's a great quarterback. He has a lot of heart. He plays well, and he's gonna find ways to get you in the end zone. He's going to throw some picks, but he's going to find ways to get you in the end zone and find ways to win games. And the Browns are really missing him right now, going 3-14 on the year. I think they really regret getting rid of him. And if I was a Browns fan, I'd be really mad. So with the last week of the season recap there, we're going to talk about the playoff teams, the seedings, and then how I think it's going to go. I would talk a little bit about my Tennessee Titans. Actually, I can mention that. Tennessee Titans, one of my favorite teams. I like them and the Cowboys. The Titans get the number 1 pick in the draft. We were going to get the number 2 pick. We were lined up to get the number 2 pick in the draft until the Patriots won the last game of the season, knocking them all the way back, I think, to the 4th pick. They won 23-16 over the Bills. Didn't really have much to play for. They had the 2 seed locked up. And the Patriots' backup quarterback, what's his name? Joe Milton III, quarterback out of the University of Tennessee. He hadn't played all year and got his opportunity, and he went out and balled, and they won the game. And he had actually a quote after the game that people were upset that they lost the number 1 pick because of him. And he was basically saying, this was my chance to get out there and play. Why should I try and tank for a draft pick? This is my chance to get out there and prove how good I am. I'm going to go out there and play. I give props to him for doing that. I think teams should try and win when they're out there on the field. But let's go ahead and get into the playoff picture. My Cowboys unfortunately didn't make it, and my Titans, of course, didn't make it, getting the number 1 pick. But we're going to get someone with that number 1 pick, hopefully. Either that or we're going to trade it for a lot of picks, but we'll see. Maybe I'll do a video. Well, I'll do a video on the draft later in the year. But in the playoffs, let's go ahead with the AFC. The number 1 seed is the Kansas City Chiefs, 15-2. The number 2 seed is the Buffalo Bills at 13-4. The Baltimore Ravens get the 3 seed, 12-5. The Houston Texans, they struggled late in the season but played in a weak division with the Colts, Jaguars, and my Titans. So they get the 4 seed at 10-7, even though they struggled down the stretch. The 5th seed is the Chargers at 11-6. The Steelers are the 6th seed at 10-7, and the Broncos get the last spot, the 7th seed at 10-7. Coming into the season, if you would have told me that the Chargers, Steelers, and Broncos all make the playoffs, I would not have believed you. I would have said the Chargers maybe because their culture would change under Jim Harbaugh. He finds a way to win anywhere he goes. The Steelers, I would have said, have a good defense. They maybe have a chance to sneak in with the last spot if things go right, but their offense wasn't good. But Russell Wilson has played well for them. Justin Fields, when he has played well for them. They've found ways to win games. They beat the Ravens, I think, 1 game during the season. So they're a really solid team. I think they're scary. They're not. I don't think they're a team to win the Super Bowl, but they're a team that could have an upset in the playoffs. And the Broncos are just a really surprised team. Bo Nix has played really well and could be in the running for Rookie of the Year for them. Over on the NFC side, the number one seed is the Detroit Lions at 15-2. They had a great, phenomenal season, even with all the injuries that they have. Dan Campbell has shown himself to be a front runner for the Coach of the Year. He should win it. Just phenomenal what he has done there, especially with all the injuries that they've had to still get the number one seed. And the Vikings, too, had a terrific season going 14-3, but being in the same division with the Lions, they can't get the 2 seed. They're all the way down at 5. They actually played the last game of the season for the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they lost 31-9. It's the first time in NFL history that we've had 2 teams with 14 wins or more in the same division. Now, all the way back in 1999, my Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars both had 13 wins in the same season. But it's the first time we've had 2 14-win teams in the same division. 1999, I think, was the last time that we had 2 teams with 13 wins, but it's the first time with 14-win teams in the same division. The Lions at the number 1 seed, Eagles at the 2 seed at 14-3, the Buccaneers all the way up at the 3 seed with 10-7, and the 4 seed is the Los Angeles Rams at 10-7. Now, their home playoff game this weekend against the Minnesota Vikings has been moved from Los Angeles to Glendale, Arizona due to the wildfires raging around Los Angeles and in Los Angeles. My thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Los Angeles, all those suffering who've lost their homes, the people who've lost their lives. It's absolutely tragic situation. You know, it's very, very unfortunate. It's very horrible that this has happened. And it has moved the game for safety concerns from Los Angeles to Glendale, Arizona. And as some people have even mentioned, like some of the players for the Rams, their houses might be getting burned or in danger, and they're having to go play a game somewhere. So like I think there's going to be a lot of emotion in this game, and the whole country is thinking about Los Angeles and keeping them in their prayers. So I would urge you to pray for Los Angeles if you are a praying person. So the Rams at the 4 seed, they get to host the 5 seed Minnesota Vikings at 14-3, but it'll be in Arizona, and that's I think they've been trying to get tickets to people or have tickets available for people that were coming to the game in Los Angeles. The 6th seed is the Washington Commanders, or the Redskins, or the football team, whatever you prefer to call them. They're 12-5. What a terrific year for them. I said that they would be probably the most improved team in the NFC East. I did not think that would equate to a playoff berth. I thought that they would maybe win, kind of like I said with the Broncos. They maybe get 7 or 8 wins and are just kind of outside of the playoffs, but you can see where they're going, that they're building towards the playoffs. But terrific season for them. Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's their head coach, former Cowboys defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn is going to be in the Coach of the Year running. There's several good candidates this year. He's going to be in the running for Coach of the Year. Jaden Daniels, their quarterback, is going to be in the running for Rookie of the Year. What a terrific season he's had and been a huge part of them making this playoffs. So great job to them, and they're all the way at the 6th seed. I think the NFC has shown this year that from top to bottom, I think there's a lot of really strong teams. Now, some of the division winners like the Bucks and Rams, I think are good, but they're not in the kind of upper echelon of teams. Whereas the AFC kind of seems kind of top heavy with the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens. The NFC seems pretty solid all the way through. And with the 7 seed is the Green Bay Packers at 11-6. 11 wins, 7 seed is pretty unique. And there was a chance even, I think, at one point there was a chance where they could win 11 games and still miss the playoffs. Now I can't remember the exact scenario, but the NFC has had a really strong year this year. The Seahawks just missed the playoffs at 10-7, kind of like the Bengals and Dolphins just missing out there. Now, the first round of playoff games is this weekend. I'm going to go through who I think is going to win each of those games, and then who's going to win the divisional games, the conference championship, and the Super Bowl real quick, and then give my Super Bowl MVP pick as well. So today at 3:30 on CBS is the Chargers at the Texans. The Texans won their division. I'm going to say the Chargers win this game. The Texans have struggled of late. The Chargers are even a 3-point favorite playing on the road. I think Jim Harbaugh is a great coach. His team is well coached. The Chargers have, for the first time in seemingly forever, found ways to win games at the end of games rather than lose games at the end of games. They've found ways to win rather than found ways to lose like they have in the past however many years. Because it seemed like every year they'd be in a lot of close games and just find ways to lose them. Well, that's changed this year. They're 11-6. I'm going to say the Chargers win this game. The Texans have struggled of late. Their offense has struggled. I'm picking the Chargers to win this. I say they win 20-14 in this game. Low-scoring defensive game. Then the late night game on Prime Video, so on Amazon Prime at 7 p.m. We've got the Steelers and Ravens. The Ravens are a 9.5-point favorite. I don't know if they'll quite cover that. I'm not really a betting person. I'm not a betting person at all, but I think the Ravens are a really good team. I think that at times they've shown some inconsistencies during the year, and the Steelers, I think, beat them earlier in the year. I think I said that earlier. Let's see. Let's go look. Yeah, Steelers won one game, 18-16, and then lost the most recent one, 34-17. I think the Ravens will win this game. I think they're the better team, clearly. I think the Steelers' offense is going to struggle to keep up at times. But I would not be surprised if the Steelers cover and keep it somewhat a close game. The Steelers and Ravens have played a ton of close games over the years. It's been probably the best rivalry in the NFL over the last 20 years. So I'm going to say Ravens win this game 31-23. Steelers just covered. Tomorrow on CBS at noon, we've got the Broncos at the Bills. I'm taking the Bills to win this game. I think the Bills win. Bills are an 8.5-point favorite. I think they'll cover that. Bills will win this game. I think they're the better team. I won't go through and do the scores on all the games. That's too much predictive power there. I can only predict so much in the future. The 3:30 game on Fox is the Packers, the 7 seed at the 2 seed Eagles. I think the Eagles will win this game, but I think this could be a good game. I think this is a game the Packers could win. The Eagles have had some injuries. Jalen Hurts, I believe, should be starting this game after having missed the last game or so with being in concussion or having a concussion. The Eagles are a 5-point favorite. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this game. I think they're the better team, and I think if push comes to shove at the end, having home field advantage, I think the Eagles will win this game. Then the Sunday night game is the Commanders at the Buccaneers, the 6 seed at the 3 seed. I'm going to pick the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers beat them earlier in the season. The Commanders, I think, are a less experienced team, and they were lucky to win games at the end that they maybe shouldn't have won, like the Eagles, the walk-off Hail Mary against the Bears. The Commanders have gotten lucky in some of their wins. I think the Buccaneers are a pretty solid team, and with the inexperience of Jaden Daniels, I would not be surprised if he maybe makes a mistake or something, or maybe the moment gets a little too big for him. And I'm not saying that he can't handle those situations. I'm just saying he's a much younger player. Baker has been in the league a lot longer, is more experienced. When it comes to those tight situations, those high-stress moments in a big game, I'm going to favor the experience of Baker Mayfield a little more than Jaden Daniels. But I would not be surprised if the Commanders win this, but I'm picking the Buccaneers to win this game. They're a 3-point favorite. And then the Monday night football game is the Vikings at the Rams. I wonder if this is the first playoff game in NFL history where a 14-win team has been the road playoff team in the playoffs. They're the road team. The Rams are the home team. But playing Glendale, Arizona, it's more of a neutral site. It might be 50-50 on the crowd. You don't know. And with LA going through what it's going through, I don't know how many LA fans are going to make the trip to Arizona. So I think this will be a good game. I think there's going to be a lot of emotion in this game, as I said earlier. I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game, though. I think they're the better team. They win this game. So we have the Chargers, Ravens, Bills, Eagles, Bucks, and Rams moving on in the divisional round. That should give us, let's see, should give us Chargers at the Chiefs. I'm going to pick I won't go quite through the dates on these because it's a lot of dates to just sound off, so I'll just give you who I think is going to play who. Then that sets up a divisional round of Chiefs and Chargers. I'll take the Chiefs to win there. And the Bills versus the Ravens. I think that'll be a terrific game. That's a hard pick, but I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills to win that game. I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills to win. They're going to have home field advantage over the Ravens. I'm going to pick them to win and face the Chiefs in the AFC title game. And I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I think that they've been the best team all year, and they get home field advantage over Buffalo. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. It's hard to pick against them. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Chiefs will find a way to win the AFC for the third year in a row. Yeah, third year in a row. Then over in the NFC, the divisional round after the wild card round, the divisional round will be the Detroit Lions hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Two 14-plus win teams playing in the second round, and the Eagles hosting the Buccaneers. I'm going to pick the Eagles to beat the Buccaneers. I think it'll be a great game, but I'm going to pick the Eagles to win that game. And the Lions, I'm going to pick them to beat the Vikings again. I think that'll be a terrific game. I'm going to pick the Lions to win, and we're going to have an NFC title match between the Lions and the Eagles, and I'm going to pick the Lions. They were my preseason Super Bowl pick. They've been terrific this year, even with their injuries. Dan Campbell just has a winning culture, man. I'm picking the Lions to win this game and go to the Super Bowl to face the Chiefs. We have my preseason prediction of the Chiefs and the Lions. And I think this will be a great matchup. Lions' first appearance in the Super Bowl. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win it. They have just found a way to win games all year long in games that they should not have won. They have won it without scoring 30 points all year. This is not the high-flying offense teams that we've seen under Mahomes. It is the defensive-minded and just controlling the ball. The Chiefs have found ways to win games. And they've been the best team, and they're going to win their third straight Super Bowl in a row. I'm picking them to beat the Lions in the Super Bowl. I know that's not what you want to hear. It's not what I want to hear. I would like to see the Lions win it, and if that is the matchup, I will be pulling for the Lions. I would love, and I think most of America would as well. They'd love to see the Lions win a Super Bowl after all the suffering that they have gone through. But I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. So that is going to give us our Super Bowl winner there, and I think the Super Bowl MVP is going to be Patrick Mahomes, so that he's going to show up on the big stage again and win the game. The media will try and make it Taylor Swift, but don't listen to the media. It should be Patrick Mahomes as Super Bowl MVP. You've heard it right here from the Wind-Up with Will. That's all I've got for this video. I'll do a future video a little bit more about who I think the MVP in the NFL should be, as well as the draft at some point. Let me know in the comments down below who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. What are your playoff picks? Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.